hard when you win or part of a winning team in your first tour. I mean, you did one Giro and one Vuelta before your first tour, but when you go in and lead the team and lead the peloton into Paris, that must be an amazing feeling. But you started at Phonak. You were there as a trainee or what we call a stagiaire, and then you went to Astana for a couple years. I think 3 years there, and then you were part of the BMC racing team for 9 years, and basically, kind of that team converted over to CCC, which was a very similar, basic, same organization, just with a different sponsor for two more. And the last 3 years, you've been racing on the French AG2R Citroën team. How has the sport changed over those years? And second part of that question, how did you adapt to those changes?
I think I started with the easier part of the question. The adaptation was for me never difficult. Like I like to, these marginal gains. I'm really into all the new stuff coming out, all the new aero suits, the tubeless. I was the first of the team who tried the disc brakes and all that stuff. I was really on it always. And still now I'm retired, and today I worked like almost an hour on my bike just to, change some cranks and do some different blood. This is a bit my hobby. My father had a bike shop, so I think maybe it's a bit in my genes. So there, the adaptation on my side wasn't so easy, but the adaptation or the change in our sport is massive. It's really like now when I see the young guys coming up with 19, when I was 19, they're totally different. They're so much better prepared. I mean, they have these sports schools. They have, they have the science, the nutrition science, they have the trainers, their performance coaches, they're almost pros. When you see the Devo teams, they have the same setups like us. So when they turn pro, they're really ready. And when I was turning pro, I had no clue about the world tour. I did it. Rust told me last week. I did my first team time trial. I didn't finish. I thought in the start they told me 5 guys count, so I was dropping off. Like, did my job, dropped off, and I went to the bus. And then the bus driver said, "Did you cross the line?" And I said, "No, I didn't." So I had to step out of the bus, back on the line. And this stuff you did as a neo when you have no clue about cycling. But now the neos, they come in and they really, sometimes they can teach me stuff about nutrition, about weighting the food, and I'm like, there, oh my goodness, I do this, for 17, 18 years. And they teach me, which is cool. I'm open for that. I'm never the guy who says, "Oh, when I was a rider, it was different." And yeah, I think the biggest factor is the nutrition, in my eyes, that it really has changed the fueling strategies. That the boys are so well fueled, they really can go all out, and training the gut. With it started with 90-gram carbs, and then went to 100, 120, and I don't know how high they are now, 130, 140. But that has really changed, with the feed zones and stuff. Like now, when you see in the races, it's not a proper feed zone in the middle of the race anymore. You have every 20, every 30 Ks, you have an assistant, like a soigneur on the side of the road with bottles, and they are carbs, and carbs is written on it. So you really can fuel, and you're totally charged the whole day. So it's totally different what we did at the beginning with the low carb stuff. And now and that's a bit not so fair sometimes. You see the big teams like Ineos, or you see Jumbo, and they have so much stuff, and they have so much, resources with cars and the logistic behind, that they really can put every 30 kilometers an assistant with bottles, and the boys are perfectly fueled. And I was in a smaller team now at the end of my career in Agi Desert. We didn't have these resources to have every 30 Ks a bottle with carbs inside, or gels and stuff. And there you see a bit the difference. I don't say this makes them much better, because they have certainly the higher level rider, but all the small details, they count nowadays. And yeah, I could go on for
So,
hours what has changed, but maybe it's too boring for you.
Not at all. We're absolutely fascinated by it because, just like you said, they are so much better prepared. They are so ready. They are so spectacular, these young kids. But back to your answer now. So you also believe the budget is a key question to success. It's an important part with a bigger budget, it is much more likely to have more success, right?
I agree in a way. Yeah, you have to just the performance groups, they get so much bigger. They have so much more possibility to go to wind tunnel tests, to all the details that just opens up. And it's funny, last week I was in Chicago, so I jumped right away in a new chapter. It started, I had the honor that I can start now as a director in Lidl-Trek. And I was there in the meetings with the boys now, and it's funny to change the sides. And that was also coming up with the directors sportif group. They also said the same, that it's really hard on to keep up with the modern cycling, that you have to have all these resources for the stuff. Actually, you need, you cannot go with 3 soigneurs and 2 mechanics anymore. You need 15 people or 20 people to provide all at the end, this fueling strategy.
Well, we're going to ask you a little bit more about that, but I just want to share a story, and Jens, help me out here. When we were on French teams, let's just describe what used to be in those famous musette bags. And the musette bag is like this little bag that has a little strap on it. The soigneurs are standing on the side of the road, and you kind of grab it, and it's got water bottles in it. It may have a can of Coke. But now help me out, Jensi. I remember on the French teams, there was like an apple tart of some sort. There was some really kind of gross little muesli bar in there. And maybe like a little sandwich with ham and cheese. Is that about right? I mean, it's been a long time since I grabbed one of those.
Yeah, and some rice cakes, I believe.
No, that was later. That was later. I'm talking like, the early 2000s, right? Yeah. Okay, Mickey, you said that feed zones are different. What is in those musette bags now?
Oh, Bobby, that's funny. We still have this stuff. We have French team. French team is tradition. We're not changing. We didn't change that much. We still have these pommes pots. It's so famous in France. I never had it before. It's like a little. It's not even real apple mousse in little plastic. It's not a gel made by a nutrition company. We had these still, and then we had these little jellies, like jelly.
Tartuffe.
Total sugar. Tartuffe, exactly. Mm-hmm. These little jellies we still had. So that's really traditional. I think this is from years, like, everybody had it with you. We still have it. And now we have these bottles, yeah. I think the carbs amount in the bottles has increased a lot. And then we have the bars and gels. And we have some teammates, they're just running on gels. They're running on 10, 15 gels. I don't know how they do it with the, the gut. But it really is. Yeah, I need some hard food from time to time just to relax my stomach a bit. And
so, easy question: is that still a thing that, like, let's say Swiss riders or German riders, in my case, from different teams, they talk to each other? Hey, I got the tart or pomme. You want to exchange that against that stuff in your box? Sometimes people, like in the Tour de France, 3 weeks, tart or pomme every day in your musette. Every now and then you change with other riders. Is that still a thing? Or people go, no, it's my secret food and I'm not sharing with nobody?
I still do it. Pretty much every time.
Of course.
Not many guys reply, and they're like, what are you talking? You're a dinosaur? No. I have my stuff and it works for me. But I still, when there's something good inside, still try to exchange a bit.
Yeah, you guys have iron guts, that's for sure. But you mentioned it a couple times, and just for our viewers and listeners, Mickey is almost 2 meters tall, which over here in the States means 6'5". You were always one of the tallest riders in the peloton. I can remember a lot of people vying for your wheel because you put out a much different draft than, somebody like Pogačar, for example, or Venego. But did you ever have to being so tall and so long, did you ever have to make any like specific changes to your bike? Because what size bike did you use, and what sort of things did you have to do to adapt your position for it?
That's funny. So much stuff happened to my bikes. because I was always too tall actually for the XL frame of every brand. And actually, I was since 2006 on a BMC, so it's a long time. Always the same bike, and the XL frame, those 61 centimeters frame, I know pretty well. And yeah, but at the beginning, we made some funny things. When I was before Phonak, I was in Liberty Seguros in a Spanish team, and there was this boss, Spanish Manolo Saiz. He was crazy about material. He let me do Paris-Roubaix on a 170 millimeter stem where he put two together. So he cut two stems and he welded them together in the middle. And he said, "This is your size because you have long arms. You need that stem." And I said, "Okay, fine." I was, super young. I didn't say no. And then he said, "And now you do Paris-Roubaix on it." Then I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is gonna break for sure." And he says, "No, nothing ever breaks on the welding area. It always breaks before or after." And I was like, "Okay." He got me. So, we tried so much different stuff. Just 180 cranks, then we had 190 cranks to test. And now everybody goes shorter and shorter. And yeah, I was always a bit too tall. But at the end, I think got always over the years a bit more relaxed my position from a 150 to a 140 stem to now it's a 130. So always a bit getting more ready for retirement.
I believe, I guess Bobby experienced him as well in the peloton. Good old Manolo Saiz was a little bit of a dictator, wasn't he?
Yeah, he told you what to do. He asked me once, "You want to be a good pro or a bad pro?" Because he came in my room and checked my suitcase. Because I had chocolate. I was 6 months in Spain and I had chocolate. I was a Swiss guy and my mother gave me lots of chocolate in it. And he checked my suitcase. He said, "You want to be a good pro or a bad pro?" I said, "Yeah, good pro." And then he said, "Yeah, but then you cannot eat all this chocolate."
Well, knowing him and seeing pictures of him from memory, he probably ate your chocolate that he stole out of your suitcase.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's true.
Hey, Nikki, talking about different teams now, it's a little bit of an unfair question, but would you have a favorite team of the teams you have gone through? Or is the team where you go, "Oh, that was just terrible," and why would that be?
No, I was certainly the BMC times. I made so many friendships. For me, it was not always only about racing and on the bike. I was always off the bike. It was super important for me to have the fun on the dinner table. That's actually what I always say. What I'm going to miss maybe the most is to have 7 different nationalities on one table and everybody has a war story to tell after his race day. It's just hilarious. Everybody had different experiences. And this I experienced the most in BMC times. And also Jim Okowitz, who always gave me the contract. He sometimes even said, "Mickey, yeah, this is your new contract." And, one part is also a bit to put the old BMC DNA again, or a bit, living that BMC from 2011 on. And it was always good fun. But actually, I couldn't say one team was bad or no fun. It was always good times. I think athletes in general, they always have a good time. We make the best out of it. They're super positive people, and that's quite cool.
I think one of the keys to being on a team, being happy at the team, is having that wingman. Jens was that wingman for me. You had a very close relationship with Greg Van Avermaet. Can you share some background on how you guys became so close? I mean, you guys spent a lot of time together on, most of your career.
Yeah, we got a lot of time. It's true. We have since 2010 October we met, or he came. I was 1 year earlier in BMC and he joined. And then we spent the first years not too much, and then more and more over the years, the friendship has built, and it was really good fun, and really appreciated his, personality. It was not only what he did on the bike. I always treated him as a friend, not as, as what he did with his Palmares. and they always gave everything for him because he was one of those leaders who you knew he gave it all for you too. So we came over the line, he suffered. You saw it in his face that this guy, he gave it all. He had nothing left in the tank, and that was so rewarding over the years. And I think we're very different in characters. It's quite funny. Like on the bike, I always had to be the bad cop, and he was the good cop. And I was always fighting like the bodyguard for him in front of him, and he was Mr. Nice Guy. He could take advantage of that. So yeah, and off the bike we were, I think, more similar. That we had same interests. We wanted to discover a bit the areas around the races. It was not just sitting in a hotel room and putting the legs up in the air. We always did our Strava loops. He was crazy about his Strava loops to discover a nice old town or go and see something or do a nice boat trip in Quebec or just something fun. And we took all teammates with us, and I think that built a bit the group, and that gave a good spirit. And yeah, I think it will be a big change for us because the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years, we spent over 200 days, almost 200 days together, same room always. We have this habit. Sometimes we joke, we sleep more next to each other than to our wives. And it was good times. It's going to change. I think the friendship will last forever, that's for sure. But our lives going to go at the moment different ways. But I think maybe in the future we're going to see us more again.
I just quickly want to jump back a minute because I'm so triggered by that welding and your head stem for Roubaix. Did that actually survive? Did you make it all the way to the finish line with that welded head stem?
Yeah, got fourth in Roubaix on the 23 on that thing. It was working, yeah. Maybe if it wouldn't be that long, maybe I could have won. No, joke.
Well, yeah, who knows?
Okay, so now we got to get to it. When we were setting this up, you mentioned that you took a new job, and you just said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the States next week because I took a director sportif or DS position with Lidl-Trek." Wow, didn't take long to get from one side of the barriers back onto the other. How did that come about to begin with? We'll start from there.
Yeah, it was a long process. I think over all the years, I always looked a bit at directors. This could be an opportunity or a job I would like to try it out once, because I was really into tactics, and I'm not sick of traveling. I'm not, I like the sport. It's really my passion. I love this world tour. I love the racing. Actually, the last 3 years of my career, I started like a diary. I started after every race to put my notes down, to see a bit my experience, to put it in, just to say goodbye to the sport, to say in my way goodbye to what I love that much. It was just a way of, I don't know, working with it. And after 1-2 years, I start talking with some people about what I do, and they say, "Well, this would," and some people read it and they say, "Well, this would be super, a handheld for a director sportif, because it's easy to forget. You forget the corner in the Quaremont in Flanders. You forget a bit, little details." So I put this stuff down first for myself, or maybe now in the future I can use it. But yeah, I was always a bit, in the back of my mind, I looked into this job a little bit. And now I got the opportunity from Luca Quercilena. He was my former coach from the Swiss Federation. You remember when Fabian was with Trek? He had Luca as his coach and his director sportif in the Swiss Federation. And there I did the Olympics in 2012 with him in London. And we had a good friendship. And over all the years, I always had a good connection to him. Like when I saw him on the truck, I had a little conversation, and it was quite. I always appreciated when he was around, and he gave me that call. Or Greggy Rust actually was like this. Rusty is my sparring partner from the past, and he's a director sportif in Trek, and he told me there is one spot free. If you want to take it, because he saw me doing it, because we are quite similar in our careers and what we did. And then go and give a call to Luca. And so we reached out, and he was pretty clear. It was 10 minutes. It was like, okay, all good. If you want to come, you come, and give you 7 days to decide. And I had those 7 days. It was like 3 weeks ago. I reached out to some other opportunities I had, and yeah, it was actually at the end my only option, and I did decide for Luca, and I'm super happy because this group is super experienced, and all the other directors, I know them, like, Kim Anderson, Steven de Jong, all the guys I know from the races. Either I raced with them, like Maximo 4, or I know them from the car, and it's cool to be there. I'm really happy. It's a new challenge. It was not easy because Jensi, I think you're in Austrian holiday now, because I had to cancel my holiday. My wife was not so happy. I was like, new job. And Luca said, okay, if you come, you go to Chicago on Monday after the career. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll explain this at home. After a long career, we really looked forward to a little holiday. But now we got to postpone it. And all good, all good.
Alrighty, before I come to my question, here is a little non-too-serious tip for you. If you come to race, let's say you'll be director on Paris-Nice, you go, hey guys, if I tell you to be in a breakaway and you're not in a breakaway, the doors of the bus at the finish line will be closed. You will get a dry jersey and a fresh bidon and off on the bike to the hotel, because only the painful lessons stick to your mind. You will gain a lot of friends if you do that. But of course, that wasn't serious. No, my question is, hopefully, I guess you are aware of the fact that sports director these days, it is much, much more than just driving the car. You got to go on Google Earth. You got to check the weather, the wind, Street Viewer, to see the finish lines and all that. It's a lot more time involved in that. If you would have gone 5 hours training in your years as an athlete, probably now it's 5 hours to prepare every stage, every day, right? Have you had a little bit of an idea of that already?
Yeah, they told me that one stage needs 1 day of preparation. And I was like, oh, okay. As a rider, you're not aware of this, you just sit in a meeting, it takes 30 minutes and you think less. But yeah, it's a day of preparation. So we'll see how that will figure out. But I look forward. I think it's going to be a good challenge.
Speaking from experience, after I retired, I took a coaching / director sportif job for the team that I retired from. So I'm there with the guys that I was in the bus with. Now I'm in the car. And that was awkward because when I'd walk into the breakfast or dinner table, I'd just automatically go to the rider's table, or I'd take food off the rider's buffet. And I was like, oh, wait, I got to sit over here, and I don't get that really fancy food. I have to have the steak and frites. But the hardest thing for me was I drove the second car in Paris-Nice in 2009. And to our viewers and listeners that don't know, second caravan is pretty relaxed. There's not much going on. Everything's getting done in the first caravan, unless one of the riders from the team go into the breakaway. So they normally, depending on who it was, they send the second car with the spare bike of this rider up to the breakaway. The only problem is you have to pass the first caravan, which isn't so bad because the guys move over, but then you have to pass the peloton. And boy, oh boy, Mickey, that first time passing the peloton was the scariest thing I ever did. Our late friend Chris Anker Sorensen was in the breakaway. We're down near Nice. I'm moving up the side, beeping the horn, because I used to hate those directors that would just lay on the horn. I was trying to stay on the road in order not to kick up the rocks into the peloton, because I remember hating that. But nothing can compare to passing the peloton the first time. So other than that, what do you foresee being your biggest challenge stepping into the car?
I don't know if they have such a big seat, for my long legs. No, I think I'm also scared of that moment. I think to overpass the peloton going to be tricky. But I like driving cars. I like it a bit. Maybe, I don't know. It's going to be first. Maybe I look for an echelon day, when they're all sitting on the right. And then I take them on the left when nobody sits there.
Sounds like a plan. Hey, before you get into all that stress of driving a car behind and in the middle of another 180 crazy bike riders, let's talk about one other highlight of your career. Was it the Tour of Utah 2014 when you won the stage?
Yeah,
Right? And you won it was 2 seconds before the chasing bunch, right? Like, tell our viewers, take us through the day a little bit. Let them all share this moment.
It was my favorite race already before I won that stage, Tour of Utah, because my trainer Max Testa is living there in Park City, and I did a lot of training camps in Park City, and so I really loved the state, and always good memories, good times there. And this Tour of Utah was always like a week or 2 weeks after the Tour de France. It was not easy, with the jet lag to make it, but I had always so high motivation to be there. And yeah, it was this second stage, I think. I was going in the break, had a good day, and I never won a bike race, a pro race before. But you know what was funny, Yenzi? You were in the break with me. And I was like, oh no, Yenzi in the break, for sure he's going to win. He's going to smoke us all here, He's so much stronger than all of us. And we were going to these beautiful red rocks. I remember it was like yesterday, up and up, and I had good legs, It was, and then I thought, oh, Yenzi here, he's so good. But you were moving on the bike, and then you said by yourself, today is not my day. And I was like, oh, really? That's got to be, you. And then you went back to the bunch quite early. And somehow Joey Roscoe and me, we survived. And I attacked him on the last climb. Was feeling good. And had this nice motorbike. Oh, it was so funny. This guy, he had no clue about riding, with sidewind. And it was sidewind from the left, and he completely took me out of the wind. I was just, cruising like 2 meters next to him, but actually he filmed, but he was taking me. I was like, okay, good. Thanks. So he took me out of it, but then I paid. The karma hit me back hard in a downhill. Sometimes when you make a hard effort and then you're really on the limit or over it, and you take a downhill, you have recovery for the legs, and somehow they don't. When you go again, they didn't start again. I had these cramps, and oh my goodness, the last 5Ks I had to make, it was flat over the downhill to the finish line, and I had nothing left. I had cramps left and right. I think my ears were cramping. I don't know. I was really, really like I never suffered before my whole life. But like you said, yes, I made it by I don't know, 10 or 20 meters before the bunch. It was a funny memory, the Tour of Utah.
If I can quickly add one, there was one of these days, Mickey, and I love you to pieces, where I went, oh, I'm so glad I'm retiring, man. These kids are so strong. You basically rode me off your wheel. That hasn't happened often in my career. I'm like, oh, this hurts. It did hurt my heart more than anything else. You were on a fantastic day, I have to say. You were absolutely the strongest. And I was happy to see you pulling it off so close. But yeah, that was, I went back early because I realized I'm getting too old for this. So, Mickey, compliments on that win. But yeah, it did rub it into me that it's time for me to stop, my friend.
See, even Yenzi on a bad day would still be in the breakaway, and then, just pull up the parking brake. If I had a bad day, I wasn't even close to getting off the front of the peloton. But let's talk about your other win as a pro. You became national champion the next year. What is it like winning the national championships? Are the tactics different?
Actually, in Switzerland, we do it every year. Another guy. We just go there, have a nice barbecue in the morning and during the day, and then we go. And every year is another guy the jersey. That's actually one guy really seriously asked me this question. He said, "It's so funny in Switzerland. Every year you rotate. You give it from one to the other. You're so nice to each other. It's not always the same." And it's true when you look at the race, the history of our race. Everybody had it once. It's so nice. But you know what? It's not true. We race full gas. It's one of the hardest races of the year. We go all out. You have no friends. It's for me the most frustrating day of the year. Actually, because the whole year when I see Stefan Küng is a good friend, or I see Dillier, and we race, and every day we go in a hard race like Paris-Nice. We chat, we have so good times. This is the little bit the islands in the race where you find your good friends. And then there's the Swiss Championships day, and you have to fight each other for that jersey. So it was never really a pleasant day for me. But once I could pull it off, and it was cool to wear the jersey. This cross, the Swiss cross. They always call me the Swiss ambulance in this famous speaker in the US. He's so funny. What's his name? Dave Toll. He's always the
Dave
Swiss
Toll.
ambulance. Yeah.
Mickey, if you could choose, would you rather prefer to be a sport director specializing on the classics, or you want to go to the Tour de France and be there in Paris on the Champs-Élysées?
Oof, good question. My heart is for the classics. I really love these races. I love the Belgian atmosphere. We were always together with Greg, and this one year, Tibe, maybe you know him. We call him Toro Rosso. He's a guy. He's very redhead. He's a really funny guy. He's hilarious. He was every year with us, and he is a true Belgian. He teach me everything about the Belgian culture. He brought me the Belgian Westvleteren beer the other time, and he brought me to his house after Greg's retirement party. So he really is born one year. He's the best person you could find. A really, really good, my best friend, and we have so much fun together. And he teach me everything about the Belgian history, in cycling, and how important this is in Flanders. So for me, Flanders or the Flemish classics is a big topic. But Greg always said, Mickey, you're not so good in the Flemish classics. You're a better GC helper than a classic helper. And I think he's right, because I'm not explosive at all. I just could do a good job, going long and steady. But I was on those 1-2 minutes, Paterberg and Koppenbergs. It was a bit against my nature. But, you can do a lot. You make up with motivation.
Again, something new that not everybody knows. You just don't get to be a director sportif overnight. You have to go to the UCI director sportif course. I did that, and I think it was 5 days long back then. We went to Aigle, Switzerland at the UCI headquarters, and it was like going back to school and taking notes again. Are you going to take that course this year, or are you going to wait until next year to do it?
I'm going to do it in 2 days, or 3 on Monday. After Chicago, my off-season gets better and
so
better.
So that vacation with your wife, that's not going to happen this year, it sounds like. 'Cause you're going to be at training camp after that.
I got to be there. And she's like, actually, I'm lucky. She's the best person. I always had, I had one, how you say it in English, one rule in a way, that I said, when I retire, it's time for my wife to have a word. Because all the years as an athlete, you're quite selfish. You're always looking for your, recovery, your training, your in the afternoon, the fatigue. You don't play with the kids as energetic as you would like to, because this job is just, it's hard, it's fatiguing you. So I said to my wife, the moment I announce my retirement, we have to have a talk, and it's up to you to decide if I continue in this cycling circus, as I always call it, or you say, hey, I want you more home. I want you to be here for the kids, and I want you to have a job in Switzerland from 9 to 5. And she said, no, I want you to go back to the sport, because she sees me with such a big passion. She prefers me to be gone for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, come home, being happy with what I did, than being frustrated with something else. So I got the free pass, and gonna keep doing what I love.
She is a smart woman. She's a keeper, my friend. Honestly, compliments to her. That sounds really, really good. Awesome. Hey, now, big question. You have been riding in the peloton this entire year, right? Now, this next year, you're going to be a sport director. Your team, Lidl-Trek, just signed Tao Hart. I know he is still on a way to recover, but in case he's ready for the Tour de France, in the best possible scenario, Mickey, what is your idea? What is your plan to win against Pogacar, Vingegaard, or Evenepoel? You're all going to be at the Tour. How can anybody, any normal team, beat them? Would you already have an idea there?
Well, we have the better tires, so we don't flat on the gravel, and then they lose like 5 minutes, and boom, Tao is winning. Easy, no? Now I have full confidence in Tao. What he showed this year in Trentino and in the Giro was wow. And his career, I loved him already in action when he was a young pro. You know, he raced with us in Utah, Colorado. Hey, he's such a smart guy. He makes a group. He's really. It's about building a group also in the GC, and he got that. He does it, and he's likable. He's really, and these are the guys you like. The helpers are liking more to give this little extra percentage because he's so likable personality. So I think the team spirit and the gravel section.
An easy topic. We talked at least 5 times about that family holiday that didn't happen yet. Where do you actually want to go? Where do you and the kids want to go on that famous holiday now?
We had a booking in Austria in a nice family hotel. And but the problem is the later it gets, it was October, was still good weather, and then November, and maybe now it's beginning December. We are a bit worried about the weather, so maybe we go to some warmer place, like we were thinking about the Canary Islands or Mallorca, just to have a little bit of more security about the weather. But yeah, that's a decision by my wife. She has a free pass there. She could say where she wants to go. I'm just happy to join, and I'm also happy to first time join without a bike. I'm just traveling always with the bike to all the camps and all the family holidays until now. Mostly they were with a bike, and it's gonna be just something different. Maybe start running a bit, but yeah.
Well, Mickey, it was great knowing you as a rider. It's going to be really cool following you in your new profession. We really appreciate you finding time 2 days before the UCI DS course to squeeze us in here today on Bobby and Jens. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys. It was a big pleasure. Big fun.
Now, if you can't get enough cycling in your life, why not check out the Velo Femme on Motion pop-up gallery presented by Gelonu on Friday, November 10th. If you're near Boulder, Colorado, head to the Scratch Labs Cafe and check out some of the incredible work captured by some of the best female cycling photographers on planet Earth.
Not only will you get a chance to see their work, you will also get a chance to catch the Femme on Motion documentary film in collaboration with Shimano. Join us to celebrate and honor these women on the move.
Ride bikes, look at amazing photos, watch the film, enjoy adult beverages, eat delicious food from Scratch Labs Cafe, and take home goodies from Shimano, Gelonu, and us at Velo.
Well, that's all our time for this week. Huge thanks to Mickey for being our guest.
Thanks for listening. Please don't forget to give us a 5-star review and make sure to share us with your friends.
The show was a Velo production in association with Shocked Giraffe. This episode was produced and edited by Mark Payne.
Remember to check out the video version of this podcast by heading to the Outside Watch YouTube channel.